In this video, I'm going to talk about CIS30A Lab 4 Exercise 10. And in Exercise 10, we are to write a program that contains a single inheritance, person, which is the parent class, that has the name attribute, and employee is a child class that has the ID attribute. Create the employee object, assign it name and ID, then display both properties. Provide screen capture of script and output. So in this program, we're required to do two classes, and it is a single inheritance. Person is the parent and employee is the child class. So here is the program. You have the first class, the base class or the parent class, which is person. And here we have init, and we are instantiating the member variables name, and then we have a second class which is employee, and in this one it is a single inheritance, so it's inheriting from person. So you want to take the base class name and bring it down and put it in the parameter of the employee class, the child class. Now we are going to use init again, and since it is a subclass, we wanted to put the super method here, and then you simply use super dot init. So automatically what that will do is it's going to inherit the attribute name from the base class. Then we are going to have another member in the employee, which is ID, and we are going to put none for both. So next we are going to create the object. So our object needs to be the object for the employee class. So we have emp0, and we simply bring down the base class. That's what it's asked us in the question, is that it tells us to create an object for the base class, employee, and then we are going to access the name attribute and the ID attribute. In this case, we are assigning the value, and then we're able to print that. Okay. So after that, we are going to look at a second way to attempt this. So another way that you can do this is, first we have a base class person. We're using init method, and we are putting in self and n. So self.name is going to be equal to n. The second class we're going to implement is the employee. It is a subclass of person. So we bring down the person and put it in the parameter here. And we are going to use init. And in this one, since we're accessing an additional attribute, we need to use self, x, and I. So we have a super method to say that it is accessing the same property. It has the same property as the base class. So we would do a super.init and x, which is the name, and self.id is I. Then we create the object. We would have emp1, and it is an object of employee. And here we simply use arguments Jane 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we print that. Now I just simply use dot format so that way it would be aligned a little bit better. You don't have to do that, but you can look at the format on how that can be implemented, so you can simply print out the employee name and ID. So when we run this, it should tell us for the first program we're using able 9876, so that shows us here, and that allows you to print, this is a dictionary form, so it gives you the actual key and the value. On the second one, we are using Jane 1234 in the parameter there, so you would have that formatted and print also in a dictionary form. We have the key and the value, so Jane and 1234. So right now I'm showing you two approach. The first approach that you can use to be able to print. And so the main difference with this is this one assign the values doing object creation, so that's happening right here. And in the first one, you don't assign the value, you assign the value after the object is created. That happens after it's created. So that's the difference, is that in the first one, you create the object and then assign the value. Or you can assign the value in the parameter here during the object creation. So that's two ways that you can do this. And this we simply just assign values and use those values as data that will be accessed from the attributes. So this concludes my video for Lab 4 Exercise 10 in CIS30A, using two classes with one single inheritance, and we assign values after or during object creation.